Call to order the board meeting of December 11th. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any changes in the agenda?
None that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Would you make a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say same. Public comment. Do we have any members of the public wishing to testify that didn't sign up on our sheet? Seeing none, we'll go on to action items. Presentation of the insurance renewal. Come on.
Thank you so much. I will be brief tonight. I wanted to give you a quick update. We're at that point of the year where we're planning to move forward for January 1st. We did do a vetting in the marketplace. Still today, Philadelphia, who's the lead carrier, by far is offering us the best option. I think long term that's going to change with some court cases that have come to an end. I think next year, two good companies, in addition to Philadelphia, will be players. A company called Gladfelter and STO, I think, will be back in the mix, which excites me. I have one more piece to finish for you, but most of the numbers look good with one exception. This is just a comparison, a snapshot, so you'll have an idea of what it looks like. All the numbers are in line with the exception of the property number. And it is correct that values have gone up, but the value change there is only a little bit less than 4%, 3.8% is what I think it calculates. That number is higher than that. I've gone back to the underwriter. The underwriter has heard our argument. We rewired the main plant. It is pristine. A number of major updates were made. So we're arguing that that rate come down tomorrow morning. I make an early morning call to Philadelphia to the senior underwriter. That's a good sign for the junior underwriter to say, yes, I agree with your argument. To kick that up to them is a good thing. So we're going to argue that number down. This is your worst case scenario, and I need to work a little bit to get that one number, the property number, back down. Everything else I'm really pleased with. As our best option, we're going to recommend that we move forward. I'm going to ask you to give me a little bit of latitude. I'm going to be working with Lee Moore to get that finalized here in the next few hours. Their second set of numbers came in early this morning. We worked on those. We have a little more refinement, and I'm excited about our prospects there. After the first of the year, we'll be back up and review coverages. All the coverages to date that we've asked for are there, so there's no change. We have good D&O, directors and officers coverage. We have good professional liability for our waterworks, and we have good employment law coverage. So I'm real happy with the package overall.
Any questions?
Do you have any sense of what reduction in premium you might be able to achieve?
We're being recorded. I'm asking for 15. We're not going to get that. I'm going to be thrilled if we get 5 and we get back down to where we should be at. But I'm asking for more, and then hopefully we do a little. You're smiling. We do a little dance and see where we end up.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions? Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Have a safe drive.
Thank you.
Nasty out there. Any members of the public wishing to adopt, make a presentation on this issue? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, resolution 052015.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt resolution number 052015, authorizing the biennial budget cycle beginning with the period July 1st, 2015 and ending June 30th, 2017, and future periods.
Second.
Go ahead, Carol.
Good evening.
So this is kind of old hat for all of you. We have had a couple of previous discussions about this, so I'm going to keep this very brief. Just a reminder that there is authorization in the Oregon revised statutes to allow local governments to do a biennial budget. And what we've done so far is we had a work session with the board in October. We also discussed it at the board meeting in November. And on December 2nd, I was able to have a group of many of our budget committee members come in and kind of go over the presentation. And the 4 people that were able to come were all in favor of changing to a biennial budget, primarily because of the long-term cost savings and time savings. So just in general, again, it gives us an opportunity to really hone in on some long-term financial planning. It does make available significant staff hours to work on other items and projects, such as our integration activities with Sunrise as part of the Clackamas Regional Water Supply Commission, and would give us time to maybe do some additional communication with the public, such as a budget and brief or a popular annual financial report that would make sure that we're providing information to the ratepayers so they kind of know what we're up to. We would be able to focus more on the longer term issues for the district, and it does have potential to improve our bond rating. That's all I've got.
Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
If you were to find that it was not working as you had hoped, are you prepared to go back to some of your budgeting, and how difficult would that be?
That is possible. You can do that. We would need to complete the first biennium before we could go back to an annual budget, but you certainly could. It would get a little, I would say, funky on the financial reporting because you give like the prior 2 periods, and so we would go from annual to biennial to annual again in the future budget documents, but it certainly could be done.
So it is manageable?
Yes.
During the presentation that you made during the meeting with the budget committee members, I asked you a question about our executive, how he feels about that. So I'll give you an opportunity to give us some comment.
Well, I've worked under both systems for quite a while. And to me, any system that you put in place, the real question, I think, is does it diminish any control that you would have over the budget process? And I don't think it does, assuming that you're getting the right information, and and like always, you have the ability as a board to change under, no matter what system we use. And so I think because those 2 things are in place, plus you're still receiving audits in terms of how we're managing the money. So it's, other than the state system, which I have my own personal opinions about, I don't think.
I think you may share that opinion.
I don't have an itch on that. I do know that there's a workload issue that it needs to be thought about.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Those in favor say aye, those opposed say no when you're called.
Commissioner Humbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner McMillan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
No.
Motion carries 3-1.
Item number 3 under action items, a resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve resolution 062015, amending board policy section 1.9, agenda preparation.
Second.
Before I accept that motion, I need another motion. Read by title only.
As an addendum to have this read by title only.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Chair, before I do the title reading, I think it's important for the public to know what we're voting on here. And essentially what this is a housekeeping provision that essentially is under the current policy that it says all items must be submitted to the board no later than 21 days, and we're moving it to 17 days. That is the only change for the benefit of the public to know what it is that we're talking about here. So this is Clackamas River Water Resolution 06-2015. It refers to a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 1.9. Whereas the regular meeting was held by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water on January 8th, and really that should be January 11th. No, is that right? Oh, 2014.
It's referencing a different board meeting. It's referencing another board meeting.
It's
Whereas
the second
you
meeting.
had
Okay.
meeting.
Whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORAS 192.640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and or telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media which has requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute.
Those favors, when the roll is called, say aye. Those opposed, say no.
Commissioner Humbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner Claudio?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
The members of the public, second reading was,
Be January.
yeah, moved to January. To our next meeting. Item number 4, resolution 07-2015. Ken.
I move that the board approve resolution 07-2015, amending board policy section 1.10, preparation for board meeting, and this would be also read by title only. It is a first reading.
Second.
Again, Mr. Chair, for the benefit of the public to know what we're referencing here, this is another housekeeping provision under the current section 1.10, preparation for board meetings. Under subsection B, it reads that the agenda and the public notice of the time and place of the meeting and will be simultaneous to the distribution of the board. And the correction then changes that to read, the agenda serves as the public notice of the time and place of the meeting and will be distributed to the board and interested persons. Now, the reading by title only, Clackamas River Water Resolution 07-2015, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 1.10, whereas a regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water District on January 8, 2014, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192-640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and or telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media which has requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, those opposed when the roll is called, or those in favor will say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item number 5, resolution 08-2015. Ken.
Well, we don't have a draft motion in here, but I will move to approve the board policy, section 1.6, by title only, compensation for services and reimbursement of expenses. First reading, first reading.
Second.
May include the first reading by
Yes.
title only.
Yes, by title only.
For the benefit of the general public, under the current statutes, that board members are entitled to compensation of $50 for any water-related meeting or conference attended on behalf of CRW. As a result of a board request, staff went through and looked at that statute and also conferred with our general counsel and asked if board members attended more than one meeting. In some cases, it might be within the same day. It may be that one meeting is served in the morning and the next one you can go to at night, or if there are other meetings that are authorized by the chair, or if there are multiple activities that occur or activities that occur prior to the next board meeting, whether or not board members would be entitled for compensation at those meetings. It seems like this may be a matter, and that's the reason why we didn't put the draft motion on there, and I apologize for that, is this may be an item that the board may want to defer to a work session. But at least in terms of getting it in front of you when having a first reading, that's the reason it's in your packet today. So by reading it by title only, resolution, Clackamas River Water Resolution 08-2015, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy Section 1.6, whereas a regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water District on January 8, 2014, whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192-640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email of Clackamas River Water website and or telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media, which have requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute.
Thank you. Waiting for our secretary.
Thank you, Mr.
Can you
Chairman.
have a motion?
Yes. I would like to make one quick comment.
Okay.
This has come about because I have had to attend meetings on behalf of this board where I had one in the morning and one in the evening, and I was concerned that I was, whether or not I was in compliance with policy and law. Since we do not have this policy at this point, I requested staff to take from my current compensation over the next 4 months a reimbursement for meetings that I was in fact paid for, but in effect weren't covered under what would be a policy change now, because I intend to be in compliance. That said, I would move to table it for a work session.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded that we table this resolution until January or later, or work session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Next item is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Informational report, Carol. Finance.
Good evening. We are approaching budget season, and we have 2 openings on our budget committee. And so I'd just like to bring this to the board's attention. The current budget committee members include Gary Kerr, Pat Russell, and Bill Blannis. So what we typically do to recruit new budget committee members is we put a notice on the billing statement. We will add a notice to the CRW website. But I also like to ask the board, as you're out and about talking to our customers, people that would be eligible to serve and might have an interest in serving on the budget committee, to kind of send them our way. We do have an application form, and my intent then would be to bring the viable candidates to the board at either the January or the February meeting to be appointed by the board to serve for the budget term.
A question?
Yes.
Looks like we're going to have a biennial budget. If we appoint budget committee members in January, February, we can only appoint them for 1 year. Will we be asking them to, at some later date, where they can serve for 2 years?
The requirement, the state requirement for biennial budgets is to appoint the committee members for 4 years, which has the same budget committee members working on 2 budget cycles.
Any questions? Go on to the rest of your report.
That's really all I've got.
Thank you. That's one of our reservoirs.
That is the North Fork?
North Fork, probably.
Yeah, North Fork. Suzanne took that picture.
Annual report this morning. For public education, generally during these informational reports on the financial report, we have a whole list of things every month, and so we've now put those off to paper reports, and then once every quarter, she will come in and give us a detailed report. That gives her, frees up her time so she can cover her duties with, new duties with Sunrise Water Authority. She'll be serving both agencies. Mr. Moore?
Yes. Mr. Chair, the general manager's report for this month. We had a meeting with, a telephone conference meeting with the FCS group regarding our SDC rates, and trying to see if there was a way that we could conclude that portion of work, and they advised that we hold off on that, even though they have done some front-end work, until such time as we get our master plan, at least the draft master plan in, because that's one of the drivers behind the justification for our SDC rates, and so that seemed to be the prudent thing to do, so that's what we're doing at this point. Strategic planning, staff has continued to work on our strategic plan. We met as recent as yesterday. We've gotten through the SWOT analysis now, and we're at the point where we're going in and making some editorial corrections to that document, and we will be folding that document into the rest of the packet, and hopefully either January or February we'll get the draft document in front of the board, so the board have an opportunity to review that and make comments on it. We've continued to work with, as the board has directed, Sunrise Water Authority, and we've had a variety of joint meetings. So what I did is put a calendar of events down below. So on 11/12, we've had the all-employee staff meeting again to talk to employees, answer questions, and see if there was any concerns that they had. There weren't. We even met again today with brown bag lunches, where I met with CRW only employees, and it was a very good meeting, I thought. People were asking some very pointed questions, and we were able to respond to those. On 11/13, the engineering groups from both CRW and Sunrise met with the general managers to discuss their progress on joint planning and give us a status report. On the 18th, we met with the operations group and answered questions that they had regarding the 190. I might add that there's a lot of interest and concern expressed by employees about the 190. They don't really understand what's going on. And so one of the things you have to do in situations like this is tell them, and tell them again. And so that's what we've been doing. And so far, we've gotten favorable response, although I think it's fair to say that employees still have concerns, because one of the things you're talking about is change. You know? And most things happen that where people understand change when it's happening to the other guy. On 11/21, we met with the information technology folks, who's our IT manager, and a few consultants. Met with Wade and I and talked about information technology, both in terms of the platform that we're both using and software. They did a very thorough job, really kind of gave us options, and really what we're trying to do is make sure that platform at both Sunrise and CRW are a mirror image of each other. And we decided to then let the IT folks get that work done, and then we'll continue our discussions while they're in the process of doing that around software issues. And so that's moving very well.
The one question,
Yes.
just for the public's edification.
Mm-hmm.
When we merge those platforms together or mirror images, is there any chance that we'll see Sunrise's documents and Sunrise will see our documents?
Only where it's appropriate. So, for example, in the finance organization, Carol will have and has had for the last couple of weeks full access to Sunrise's data. And because she also is on the CRW side of the aisle, she sees ours. And so we've also did that with the SCADA. So all of the SCADA equipment for both organizations reside at CRW's water treatment plant now. So we're able to see both systems now. We're looking at, and when we complete the work with Sunrise, we'll be able to monitor both sides from one location. So whether she's there or here, it really won't matter. So I guess the short version is yes, but where there's appropriate, like customer databases and those kind of things, we would still have the appropriate protections in place.
So then there's still gonna be a wall that keeps hackers from getting our information and Sunrise's information?
Yes, we've done that through, and that's one of the things that we talked about in these meetings, is continuing to ensure that we have the appropriate security on both the SCADA system, the customer database, and employee records. Now, because we operate in the public arena, one of the things that we talk about is all that other stuff is public information. So the only thing that we're concerned about there is whether or not that would cause us undue disruption. If somebody were to get in, because one of the things you see with a lot of government agencies, while it's public record, a lot of the stuff is just plain old sabotage. You know, I wonder what will happen if, you know, and it's generally a lot of kids playing around. So we have the appropriate software in place to help minimize that.
I do have a question. You mentioned SCADA, so do you use an encrypted SCADA system? I don't believe
What we have is a direct wiring and.
Yeah, but it's wired,
Yeah.
wireless, therefore it's,
No, ours is not wireless.
so you're using.
Sunrise is wireless.
Okay, because the antenna at the treatment plant is wireless,
Mhm.
that receives SCADA transmission, and so,
So what we're doing is that we have two systems essentially. that operate side by side.
In parallel.
One is wireless and the other one is hardwired.
Wired.
And over time, as you might imagine, we'll be looking for opportunities to mirror those, but only where it's appropriate.
And so is the wired through lease lines through the telco?
Yes.
Just one statement, our SCADA that comes from our remote sites is radio read.
That's what I
Come
thought.
up the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the antenna, so I'm going, I
The
don't
SCADA
know.
that comes from our remote sites for CRW is radio read direct.
Yeah,
The information that goes to Sunrise, I believe, is radio, most of it, or a good portion of it, to the Sunrise office. And then we have a fiber that comes down to our
Oh, okay.
office, and that's how it gets to the plant.
oh, I see.
So dedicated fiber that we
Yeah,
got
from here to
through
there.
the county.
Yeah,
That was a question that you had asked several months ago when you first got here.
yeah,
So we now have, we didn't have, but now we have a direct fiber link.
yeah. But the real answer is, it's wireless. The system's wireless.
For the
That's how we-
radio, yes.
It is, it's wireless. That's how we get our data. And the reason I ask that is because if you've been reading anything about the issues over this country, SCADA is one of the front doors to all of the infrastructure in this entire country. And the biggest problem is with our natural gas and our power, but it also impacts water. And so it's one of those things that we may want to look at going to digital encrypted wireless. So just something you might want to think about.
Yeah, the transmission on the SCADA file is through the radio, so it is wireless. But when it comes into the Wonderware software, those are through fiber landline.
Right.
And it's in-house landline.
Mhm. It's
For
proprietary
Sunrise,
landline,
yeah,
right?
for Sunrise, there is on the network, but
really?
ours is not
Uh-huh.
yet.
How vulnerable is our system to hackers?
Not very vulnerable because it's not on the network, so it's just local to us only. So it's not on the internet, let's put it that way.
So a guy with a transmitter in his car can access the SCADA system if he knows the sequence code.
But
And
that's just text file.
Right, but, so do we do just data acquisition or do we do control too?
Control, but the control is on our landline only. When the data comes in, the control views the.
Right.
con-
So it's
you know.
bidirectional.
Right.
And so when the data comes from the pump station that says, I'm seeing that I need to start turning on a pump, do you have the ability to manually turn on a pump or not?
Manually,
Manually from a remote location, turn on a pump at a pump station. Yeah,
And
so
you
it's
can do that, you
bidirectional,
can do
and
that.
so yes, you can. And it's analog, and it's not digital, and it's not encrypted.
right.
Because I'm pretty sure you're still using the old Motorola system, so.
I think that's what
Yeah.
they're doing,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's the way it is. I just was interested in making sure that I was clear on that. Yeah, it is a vulnerability, and hence the reason why, like PGE has pretty well gotten rid of their entire SCADA system and has run fiber between all of their subs and all of the generation. Yeah, then you're pretty sure that nobody's gonna get your system because they own it all.
Yeah. Ours is fiber, so, and it's local.
Yeah, fiber between here and there, but
Yep.
that's a pretty short piece. Good, thanks.
I assume the language you're using is some kind of a Greek language.
It is. If we wanted you to know, we would have told you in
I was gonna
advance.
say, it's Greek to me, that's for sure.
And Mr. Chair, for the record, the individuals that just provided information on the record was Tom Gilboa and our IT manager. I think that needs to be on the record.
Thanks, Tom.
Are you done with your report?
I hope not.
Let's see, where is it? The collective bargaining, things are moving along. We still have not met with the group again. Our council did send off a letter as the board requested, and we're waiting for a response to that letter. We should have gotten it this week. They said early, but we still don't have it. And so we're hopeful that we'll hear something tomorrow, but there's no guarantee of that. So what's The commissioner meetings, the general manager and staff have met with various commissioners throughout the month. I think it's been very helpful to have these ad hoc meetings at the request, and we try to provide the information that's requested. And we've also had meetings with the city of Milwaukee, and things are going well. We shared with you last time the building issues. We still have to work out the engineering and some of the other technical issues related to the relationship between us and the city of Milwaukee. First response, what that is that our security response is up for renewal, and we're meeting with them to talk about a revised agreement in January, I believe, is when that contract terminates. Human resources, you just heard that our risk manager, Adora, in addition to doing human resources, has been working with the insurance company to get our insurance renewed. She's also been working with the Employment Council on the labor contract. She's continuing to work on the transition of CRW and Sunrise support for both boards and the executive directors of both agencies. And there's also a couple of open positions at Sunrise that she's helping with the recruitment on. And she's also provided some policy support as it relates to inclement weather and staff meetings with Sunrise and CRW. Our Water Resources Group we've met with their staff and the general manager from Sunrise. We've just talked about the SCADA system, where we've got that physically moved now to our organization, and that's done. We also pursued a grant from the state of Oregon for OSHA, but we were not successful in getting that grant. And what that is that with our new generator and also state requirements, we're having to look at the whole issue around arc flash, and we thought that we would be successful in applying for that grant, but what we found out is that they were looking for an organization that was larger and more broad-based, and as a result, we were not successful in obtaining the grant.
Mr. Chairman, may I direct a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I saw that on your report, and I was wondering, is that something that either the commission itself with the two organizations together, through the commission, be able to do that? Or is it something that the Regional Water Providers Consortium might be able to do for an even broader base of water providers?
What we didn't realize at the time is that they were looking at something on the magnitude of the regional water providers or some other kind of organization that had that similar
Scope.
We were just too small.
Is that something that, on behalf of this board, I should bring up at the RWPC?
The time period for submitting of that grant has come and gone.
Okay.
So, and one of the problems that we had is that we were trying to run to catch the bus because, the train had left or the bus had left the station. We got it through, staff did a great job of putting all that together, only to find out that the criteria was different than we had suspected. But one of the things that the board had asked us to do in the past is begin to look for opportunities like that in order to save money. We've also had a tour from the University of Portland engineering students at our water treatment plant. Dr. DiLorenzo did an excellent job with that. And we also had Tom Mott, who's our former budget committee member, wanted to tour the generator and the treatment plant facility, and we made time available for him to go through and do that. And we've also been involved in trying to do our contingency planning in the event that we have labor disruptions and so on. Emergency management, we're continuing to move forward in the planning of the COOP operations. There's been a couple of meetings where we've had some discussions with staff about their particular primary mission critical functions. We're talking about the vulnerability assessment. That's in progress. We did have training on the confined space. That went extremely well. I think that was with Sunrises. I think they were involved in that as well. So that's training that we were able to share with them. And then systems operation. The group was involved in repairing 9 main leaks of about 25 gallons per minute each. We have a customer that is having some problems out on Loader Road, and it's been going on for a couple of years where he's getting dirty water. We think it's in his residence. He thinks it's in our water supply. And so we're in a situation where we need to prove it. And so we have put a filtration system on the input side of his system, and we'll be going back and monitoring that and eventually get back to him, and we'll know more specifically what's going on, but it's more of a customer service issue than anything else. As you know, with the weather, we've had a lot of requests from customers, and our staff has done an admirable job in responding to those. We've used, for the first time in our operations group, we've used an auto dialer for reminding customers about their backflow systems, and that worked extremely well. And we've continued to do work with the JTA and the Carver Bridge work. We're still having discussions. We're waiting for the contractor to get back to us on the issues with the water pipe. They have called in both their supplier and the manufacturer, but we haven't heard the outcome of those discussions yet. And we're continuing to work with the county on water line relocations at Bell Avenue, Tolbert Bridge, Monterey Avenue. And I think that's pretty much it. So those are the activities for this month from staff.
And now with the agenda item of public comment.
Oh, I have
one from,
I'm sorry, I didn't have it in my report, but I think that they're significant enough that we need to talk about it. I did get yesterday from the U.S. District Court copy of an opinion that was as a result of the Holloway versus Clackamas River Water case, where, as you know, the U.S. Magistrate for the Federal District Court had heard the case and had recommended that it be dismissed. Because he's a magistrate, he cannot issue the final opinion. So that opinion back in September, as you'll recall, was referred from Judge Acosta, who was the magistrate, to the federal district judge, who was Judge Hernandez. He advised us yesterday that he's concurring with the outcome of the opinion written by Judge Acosta. So I think that's a good result for us. But the parties have 30 days to notify the court as to whether or not they intend to appeal. There's 2 possible outcomes. One outcome is they can appeal to the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is located in San Francisco, or because there were a couple of items that were dismissed without prejudice, they could refile in state court. And we're advised that the likelihood of that in terms of prevailing is not very high. So, like I said, I wasn't able to get that into the management report, but I know it is an item of interest to this board in terms of what has happened. We've also received notice from the courts that petition filed by ex-Commissioner Mitchell for relief from fees for the Court of Appeals case, and the court has essentially denied that request in the sense that they've asked Mr. Mitchell to liquidate some of his assets in order to pay the fees. So those are two additional items that came yesterday that I was not able to get into the manager's report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to testify now? Seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner business. Just to remind you to get your reports in on time so we can get the reimbursement. Item number 10.
Mr. Chairman?
Confirmation of the dates, I'll get that. Confirmation of the dates for our January work session.
Well, I had actually two items, Mr. Chairman. One was to compliment Ms. DiLorenzo also. I received a concern from a citizen regarding possible chemical pollution in our water source, in the river, and forwarded that to staff, who forwarded it to Ms. DiLorenzo, who responded to the public's concern very, very effectively, I thought, and appreciate her response.
I'll pass that on.
For the calendar, we are scheduled for January 8th for regular meeting, January 12th for the commission meeting at Sunrise Water Authority, and work session January 26th. That's currently what is calendared.
And we got heartburn with those dates. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you do?
26th.
26?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't be able to make that day. I'll be out of town from 20 to 20th through the last day of January.
Can we talk about a reschedule?
Can you move it up?
The 19th is Martin Luther King Day. Is that a holiday? An actual,
Yes.
a full-fledged holiday, so that doesn't work.
What kind of holiday is that?
MLK.
Okay.
Right?
Martin Luther King holiday, so that is a full holiday. Backing up to the Friday before on the 16th, it's an unusual day, but we could do it on the 16th.
I can do that.
Okay.
How does that work for staff?
Is that
Friday, the January 16th. Excuse me, yeah, January 16th, Friday.
yeah.
Is that in the day?
What time would that be?
I would assume our regular time at 6 p.m.
That's gonna be difficult Friday afternoon.
Okay, so that doesn't work.
Because you gotta be here no earlier
Yeah,
than 6.
I get here at 6, yeah. Can we do it Thursday?
I
Yeah,
can't.
Thursday might be a better day.
I can't do it Thursday.
Wednesday?
You can't.
I can do it, yes, I can do it Wednesday, the 14th.
Yeah.
That's Wednesday?
Would be Wednesday, January 14th,
Okay.
work session. Okay.
Staff?
6.
I think in terms of staff, it'll depend on what
What are we
issues.
talking about at the work
Can you talk
session?
about, yeah.
Oh, you want it all, don't you? Oh,
The
I
agenda
should've
will be
known.
the critical point on that.
Yeah, we-
Oh, we'll do it.
We can do a nice kumbaya.
Trying to help with
Well, let me go
Also,
to our,
may I ask you a question?
Sure.
I think that the commission meeting is at CRW in January. It's not?
No, it is
Okay.
at Sun, I double checked with.
You did? Okay,
Yeah, oh,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
I've been down
I
that
think
road
we
once
have it different
before.
on our calendar. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I made that mistake once. So I'm looking for,
So wait, if I remember, if I got it right, we have meetings on the 8th, 12th, and 14th. Is that correct?
the 8th, the 12th, and the 14th, correct.
Well, on
Okay, so
on
Now,
January 8th,
we have a number of items on our board agenda.
Can we, Commissioner Hubbardson,
Yes.
so you're saying meeting on January 8th,
Yeah.
and Commissioner McDaniel, did you want to put that on there?
well, actually, I just wanted to ask Hugh and Larry, I don't know whether you saw my email that I sent you, but Ken had talked to me. I've mentioned this report before, and I asked Lee to print it out in case you wanted a paper copy, but because we all, four of us get our water from City of Worthington or South Fork Water, you would be surprised at the problems that we may be facing. And so it's all documented in here. And if you haven't had an opportunity to read this, you can either read it on their website, it's on the front page, or you can take this document with you tonight and peruse it at your leisure and then maybe know, because a lot of the questions that the Beaver Creek Hamlet has asked us are in here. Okay, and I don't think we can honestly, straightforward answer all of their questions unless we make some decisions about either what we're gonna do to supply water to the south side, or whether we're gonna throw in with $31 million worth of improvements that are outlined in this document. So,
Let's see. We discussed this a while back, didn't we?
yeah, a little bit, but not,
Preliminary?
but not in the detail that this is, and this is really kind of interesting.
And that's on our website?
This is on the Sunrise, this is on the Clackamas,
South Fork.
South Fork Water website, if you want to go read it.
Yeah.
And you really don't need to start until you get to page 49, there's 114 pages, but,
And sections 5 through 7 are probably the most.
yeah, and so,
Salient.
just so, for instance, the pipe that gets the water from their new intake to the treatment plant is in failure today.
What?
It is in failure, it is in failures in here. And they know that they have problems with it, and they were supposed to start this work in 2010. It's now 2014. They're gonna have to update this thing in another year. And that's where water comes from. folks.
Well, a lot of the things in terms of water to the south side are dependent on the crossing there in Carver. The
Absolutely,
longer that thing stalls and piddles around,
yeah.
the harder it's gonna be for us to respond to that in a fairly sensible manner.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's
And I
kind
don't
of,
suppose there's any way to kick the county in the rear end to get them going. Or Wildish for that.
But this
Is it
sounds like a
Wildish?
work session.
it's wild.
That's gonna be a big work session. That one's gonna be its own work session.
And I agree with you, and
Make
so,
sure that
and so.
we have a date certain that Carver crossing is complete.
How long have they been working on that thing?
A year.
No, 4 years.
Well, on the
5
pipe
years.
part, a year. The bridge has been 2 years.
Is that all?
Why don't I ask the engineer?
How long have they been really working on that thing?
Oh, longer than that.
That's what, I was thinking about 4 or 5 years at least.
The study and all that was 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
There.
6 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago, they actually got drawings done, they bid it, and there was at least 2 misses of in-water work, which postponed it.
Oh, really?
And one was at the bidding time, the other one was Wildish asked to wait because the time the bid came out, all the paperwork was signed, they were up against the water work in the river,
In water
so they
work.
got an extension.
Okay.
Of course, every extension then delayed our water line being built because the bridge
Right.
had to be there first.
Mhm.
So yes, we've been actually been working on the water line itself just slightly more than a year. And of course, this is pieces as the bridge got built.
Yeah.
I've noticed in the last 2 weeks that there's been a lot of group meetings on the bridge. With
That's all they did is more
with
meetings.
cars and trucks and people walking around in vests and scratching their head and looking over the side. I'm going, well, you can't see it looking over the side. The pipe's clear up underneath the thing. And then they dug a pretty good sized hole at the north end of the bridge here a week ago. And I don't know what they found there.
I'm not sure what that was.
I don't either, but it looked like where they had dug before when they were making the connection for the line, so, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, maybe to bring this to a focus, the board had already decided about 2 years ago that the Carver Bridge project was a high priority project for the district, but we need a lot of information. Obviously, we need to know when the pipe is going to be finished across the bridge, or get some idea exactly what's going to need to be done engineering-wise to complete the loop that we have talked about, how we are going to finance it, what we may need to do with respect to bonding, and all of those related issues. That's a single, in my opinion, that's a single and major work session item that we ought to schedule. My question is that something that staff could be prepared for at a February or March work session, or I'll phrase it another way, what would be the most reasonable work session that the general manager feels staff could be able to provide us with that kind of information for that kind of an in-depth discussion? And if we can't answer that question at this immediate moment, I understand, but
Yeah,
maybe...
I really need to get with staff and
Yeah,
kind of,
but I
rather
mean-
than shoot from the hip, I think.
Oh,
I would
fair enough.
really-
Maybe know when we might schedule it at the next work session?
Absolutely, I can do
Okay.
that, that's not a problem.
I mean, because I think if we talk about it a little bit at the next work session, we can get the answers to the questions that the Hamlet has figured out as best we can. And we can tell them we won't know until we get through this other work session.
Sure.
And that's certainly our prerogative to do that. I just think that we need to start coming up with a good plan, both for when we deal with the city of Oregon City and with the ratepayers that we have in the Beaver Creek area, because we're gonna need to be able to hopefully have one answer for them and, you know, show them that we really have a direction on what's going on. And I guess the parts that bother me are two. One, the intake pipe, that's a big deal. Then the other thing that was interesting, you can appreciate this, apparently even starting a couple of years ago, and I don't know whether Bob knows it, whether he read this or not, but at the Division Street Pump Station, which is the intermediate pump that gets the water ultimately to the reservoir where we go and buy from, they, in high peak, high demand times, there's not enough pressure coming from the filter plant to keep those pumps from cavitating. That is a bad problem. You cavitate those pumps, you've seen those pumps, I'm sure. And holy cow, you tear up one of those impellers in one of those pumps, and we got a problem real fast. So, and they talk about, and this, I talked to Lee a little bit about this, they talk about if they didn't sell the water to CRW, it would forestall them having to...
Fix things.
Yes. And that's a little disturbing to me, because they're already counting us out, and you know, the other thing I can't, and I don't think Lee knows, there's no agreement that guarantees us water for certain. We are a wholesale, as it says in this document, we are a wholesale customer, and we buy excess water that they have available. So at some point, that may not be available. So those are just some things that we need to know.
We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, we have.
Early on during our terms, and it was as much a problem then as it is now, only it's getting bigger because of the things that you're talking about their report.
Yeah, well, and I guess what I see is both West Lynn and Oregon City now have a little uptick in growth, right? They're starting to build more apartments and more things, which now puts more demand on the system. And when are we gonna hit that equilibrium point where somebody has to do something? I mean, I was really shocked, you know, about the stuff that they talk about, the amount of improvements that they need to do if West Lynn's gonna maintain their side of the thing here. And so, I mean, that's a $21 million fix for their pipe to get them off of the Division Street pump station. So, I don't know. There's a lot of information here. I thought the report was done very well. It's easy to read. Larry, you want this?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great. I'm good.
I don't have anything else, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I have something to say. You know, I'm real anxious for our group to get moving forward and about long-range planning and things like that. We can't go anywhere until we get the Carver Bridge problem solved, and we can't go anywhere until we get that line to our reservoir, wherever it is on top of the hill there.
In Redmond, yeah.
Yeah, in Redmond. So I'm getting real anxious that we move forward, and I'm glad you
Me too.
are working on it.
Yeah.
because, I know from, talking to people that South Fork Water Board is not doing what they should do in order to get their planning done on time and guaranteeing us some water. So the guaranteed water is right here in this plant.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
we got
Our guarantee's over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we gotta get that water to the south side, or we're gonna be in trouble whenever there's water problems.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be able to, it's one thing to purchase the water when it's convenient to do so. It's another thing to be forced into a position where you have no choice and it can be taken away from you. And
Yeah.
that's,
I don't like to be in that spot.
yeah, that's sort of the position.
That's where we are.
It is where we are. That's exactly where we are. That's not a very tenable position to be in.
With that, we're set for January 14th for a work session, and then hopefully we get some report on the Carver Bridge and that construction project sometime about February.
Hugh,
With that, we,
can you make the Beaver Creek meeting?
pardon?
I was wondering whether Hugh could make the Beaver Creek meeting or not.
What is it?
It's January 28th at 7 o'clock.
No.
Okay.
He'll be out of town. And
I'll
I
be
can't.
gone.
I go to SWA that night.
Okay.
And it's my birthday.
Yeah.
So
Can
I'll be
you
working.
make the Beaver Creek meeting?
If you change it to
I can
week, I
do
can do
almost
it.
anything. I'm retired.
I do whatever the
I
heck I
had to
want.
think a little while before I would want it to.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it at the work session, how we want to. As long as we agree on what those things are, that's all I care about, is we go with a collective decision to that meeting. I guess the only other thing that I've been looking at is, as we continue to lose customers both in Oregon City and Milwaukee, I think we need to figure out how to get new customers. We need to be able to replace the people that we're losing. And so as part of that strategic planning thing, I think we need to take a look at where, for the least amount of cost, we can pick up some new customers. So we'll end up like some other
It
utilities
looks like
around here.
Beaver Creek area is a prime.
I think it is. I think there's some, with the number of wells that have the potential to go bad there, and people want to
Yeah.
quit fixing wells and they want to buy water, so.
So if the staff gets the message, we're anxious to do something.
And I know engineers like to build things.
Yeah.
I hope they like to manage things.
More fun to build.
If we had a contract to go out for bid right now, we'd be happy.
We would.
That will adjourn.